round 4 of Thursday Nighter. Exciting round we have, and we do have a nice special guest here, International Master Nubairshah Shaikh, and going to help comment on the games here. So we got his profile up of a lot of his achievements. One of his coolest achievements, draw against Gukesh in Qatar Masters last year. So potentially going to have a draw against world champion coming up here. Going to be excited to follow that match next month. And yeah, thank you, welcome, and thanks for coming and commenting on our club's games.
Thank you, and looking forward to it. So welcome everyone, and it's good evening. Let's have a look at the games from the round 4.
Perfect.
First, we have a result on the board 1 where Dane has won against Meidel, and let's go to board 2 because I think lots of action going on. Black player just has 1 minute and white has 4 an hour, and this portion is not that easy to play as a black with this less time on the board. There's a b4 coming in, queen c4 idea. The king might be in trouble. The knight is super strong in this position. But okay, black is up a pawn.
Yeah, this is Eddie is addicted to time trouble, so he gets in time trouble pretty much every week. And John lately been blitzing. John actually last week he lost his game with more time on his clock than he started with against Dane. So I would say this is fitting both their profiles lately. But Eddie actually is pretty known for busting out pretty accurate moves, even playing on increment.
So just like Richard.
Yeah, he's a Grishuk type for sure. So
Nice.
addicted to time trouble. It probably is not helping his long-term rating, but at the same time, it's what he's known for here, I guess. So, and yeah, Eddie's known as Everyday Eddie in the club because he plays in every tournament. So he plays all the time controls every week. He also travels out of state for like the national tournaments, and he's played over 800 over the board events.
Well, that's quite a lot of experience, and this is very interesting. Like for example, in this particular position, black opted to go just king b8, and now white could just simply take on h5, takes queen h5, and he could regain the pawn, and then simply start pushing maybe after queen h8. But instead of this, because that will give black easier position to play on, like some exchanges, so it's easier to make moves quickly. But instead he goes for b4, bishop goes back, and now queen c4. And now, as I said, this could be a problem, like queen c7, queen d8 is a threat. After that, bishop b8 and knight c7. So there are some serious threats, and we can see already rook going back, because if you play queen to d7 or something, then you lose the f6 pawn. Maybe that was still better idea because takes, and then there's a queen c6, but again there's a queen f7, and the king looks a bit weak because the bishop is not well placed. You might think that you just do bishop d4, you could just go bishop d4, but then there's a c3 and problems for the bishop again. So though this bishop looks good, it's hardly having any square, like only it's safe on the a7, but then it creates problem for the king. So this is all about the strong knight in the center. And now he goes back, and now this pawn is again hanging, but if you cannot do this because the queen hangs. So maybe white needs to do this, and after this probably there's some kind of a rook c8 or queen d7, and as you said, maybe he has found the best move to survive as of now.
Yeah. What about queen c7? What about queen c7 and then taking the pawn?
Queen c7, king a8. And then you want to take rook f6?
Yeah.
Okay, possible. Maybe just takes, and probably still the same, something like queen c8 needs to be played. And okay, you will drop another pawn, but then at least you go into the end game. You have a good bishop. Let's assume it's a good bishop, and maybe you have some chances. Practically speaking, it's lost. Technically, if we speak, maybe you can just show some lines. Like takes queen c7, it's the same thing. You give a check or you capture first, no big deal. And now there's no rook c8 because there's a rook e6 followed by check, and then you lose the rook because it would be hanging on c7 instead of c4. So queen c8 or something. And now, okay, white has multiple options like to just capture, but then the c2 hangs. And there could be some counterplay going in queen e4 and some problems. So maybe rook f7 here. And now let's say takes, maybe check and come back to d5 or rook c7. And now, okay, here black needs to find some counterplay with rook f8 and try to make use of this bishop.
Interesting. So you actually kind of see taking the pawn there is cashing in too early. Like white has more to play for.
Yeah. But actually, this game was very, very interesting. I was checking out somewhere here, and there were some nice tactics, like if you went knight d4, and probably white missed that after bishop f3, queen s3 is a mate. So there were lots of good things happening in this game. Like he can never take like this because of queen s3 checkmate and so many things. But then at some point, maybe he could have just came back and written a pawn with two bishops advantage. But then he went c6 and maybe at least here knight d4 and it was game over because he wins a piece. But for some reason, black decided to take on d5 and he got the piece back. So he remains only a down pawn. And maybe he missed that after queen s3, queen is coming to h2. And white made a comeback in this game. And after that, it was very difficult because the structure was bad. And also black was getting low on time. So let's just jump to the live position, which is this. Okay, so he went for rook h5 instead of rook f6 because this also allows, if he captures, the point is queen b8 check, bishop b8, knight c7, and queen drops.
Wow, nice.
So rook c, wait, this rook c8, and now did he just plunder the queen? Ah, yeah. But okay, you cannot take it because knight c7 and knight e6 is there. So black cannot really capture. And the point is, if you go queen f5, there's a rook c2 check coming in. Only one square for the king, and you get checkmated. So the idea of queen h3 is still there, which was planned like in the middle game, early middle game. But this looks scary because the queen is not saved and not the c2 pawn. Maybe he could have played c3 here and just try to come back. But okay, still it's possible to play like this. And now maybe he wants to take on f6.
Yeah, and that's a
But
problem.
again, very difficult.
You know, John, even when he gets these nice positions, just still continues to move quickly, and a lot of times gets swindled. So it's definitely, I would say, yeah, these guys are kind of opposites. Eddie just really taking way too long when he shouldn't be on strategics and gets down to increment all the time. And then John, you know, even when he gets a nice winning position, he's just moving quickly, getting into complications like getting his queen trapped. So we'll see how this goes, but I definitely don't.
And he played rook g8 on 5 seconds, and immediately rook f3 by John.
Yeah, John's trying to play against Eddie's clock. I think that's dangerous though because Eddie doesn't blunder that easily. So
yeah, and now there's this very, very interesting threat here, b5 coming next because the rook is on f3, and simply the rook will go to a3 and it will be a checkmate, like knight b6 is coming and it's a mate. It's very hard to defend. He needs to exchange queen. There's no other way, I believe. Because this is not a threat, because every time you do this, you lose exchange because it's a fork. And you cannot really move the king. It's in zugzwang. There's no square for the king. So as for the queen. Because if you move the queen, then this hangs. So you have to try queen c8. And if you could do this or something, just try to exchange queens.
Wait, so if rook f8... Wait, so
rook,
what after rook f?
Rook f8, yeah.
I mean, rook c8. I'm sorry, rook c8.
Yeah, rook c8 the same, b5, or you can take on f6.
Got it. You just ignore it, and yeah, I was thinking you were saying queen takes c8 or something there. That's why I was confused by it. But
so,
you just totally ignore it and just shove b5 anyways.
And now he even goes rook c3 because he cannot really take it, but he can take it. And he again goes, okay, now he goes rook g8. Finally, both the rooks coming down to the first rank. And but still, there is no real threat. But this is definitely Okay, even this there's an b6, so I don't think black can generate a threat. But the point is, after rook f6, he wants to play queen f6 and knight f6, rook c7. So the right sequence would be rook f6, queen f6, queen c8, and this would be again winning for white as the queen is hanging.
Cool.
Let's just refresh the board. Yeah. And now it's white who's thinking here. He can go this, in my opinion.
Yeah, so John totally dominating here despite barely using any time.
Yeah.
He's doing, a Nepo or a Hans Niemann strat here. Got to put the pressure on the
I
clock.
think yeah. And this really helps. I think John is going to think for some time here as he has got 1 hour, 16 minutes on the clock. So let's just quickly jump to some other board where we could see some action. So in this board, poor Nathan is winning against Connor, and
Yeah,
he has got less time. Yeah.
Let's look at this one from the start because this is pretty shocking, to be honest. I think Connor probably. I mean, they both have beat each other several times, but Connor probably gets the better of Nathan more often. So it's interesting to see that Nathan's totally crushing Connor here.
So it was like kind of a unusual opening, and white got good position out of the opening itself, and we can see black played really fast. So probably that was the initial mistake in this game from black side, and we could see the weaknesses, the bad king, the structure, but he did get 25 in time. But again, now c4 he allowed. So okay, but he did not play c4 because if he could have played, then it would have been game over in the middle game itself. However, he just went for the pawn, which is also fine. And very nice. Like he, instead of taking here, he's going to mb5, putting some threats here. Takes. And rook was really trapped, so you cannot really play c6 or something. The b6 hands. And now even the a5 is weak.
Yeah, it looks like he
Probably
can't.
90.
I was seeing he can't even develop his bishop just because bishop h6 is covered, knight g7 is covered. So it seems pretty brutal. What move are we on here? Yeah, past move 20, you finally get your last piece developed.
Yeah, and now maybe just take on h6 and c4, and not really c5, but now this is a threat also apart because now there's no knight f8. So for the first time, black player is giving a threat. So some good news for black, and if white gets low on time, there could be some chances for black. It's not like the game over. Strategically, technically, the game is over, but still, white needs to still win this. Maybe he just needs to capture this, and it's a very simple game if he simplifies.
Yeah. So this is pretty.
He goes.
This is pretty interesting. Connor known for taking a huge opening risk all the time just to get interesting games, and then kind of uses his calculation skill to claw out of it. But Nathan also known for just trying to gambit against everyone. So I feel like Connor could have just played a little more solid against Nathan, and he would have tried his. Nathan would have taken some risk anyways. So no reason to take huge risk. Is black right out of the opening, but I guess. Is what it is. But yeah, these guys. This is an interesting matchup because these guys both kind of beat each other back and forth. And
now the two
they both take a lot of risk too.
Yeah, it was an interesting game for sure. Like they were trying to play an interesting game, and apparently they have achieved it. But black still looking for some counterplay or something. He did get his bishop developed, but still the rook is not doing much. And after king c7, there's rook b6 or rook c5, and then rook b6. So like 2 pawns down, I think it's gonna be difficult. But there are always chances in the rook end game.
Mm-hmm. And they're both pretty good endgame players. So I would say that Nathan's probably going to convert this, but I wouldn't be shocked if Connor finds some sneaky tactics or something.
Meanwhile, he's down to 5 seconds here. And did he lose on time?
that's DGT. He never flags. So.
He just made a move on 1 second. Wow. He made a move
Yeah.
on 1 second, queen to e8.
Yeah, this might be stressing you out, but this is like, every week occurrence strategy for me, so it's this is typical.
And but I didn't understand why the pawn's on g4. It was very, very safe on g3. Suddenly the pawn is hanging, but it cannot be taken. And he played some kind of a4, but he didn't go for this b5 idea. A little bit strange, but still he can go for b5. The point here is again, this interesting tactic is coming in. Now you just take, he takes back, you take, you should be at a knight c7, and you win 2 rooks. So still the b5 is possible, and if it comes, it will be very, very dangerous because then there's a b6, b6, and so many ideas. But after b6, it could be a problem because there's a bishop b8, and the queen will be actually trapped because now you can take with the bishop. But still, you have got this moves and takes rook f6. Maybe he's just preparing for the endgame to make a new queen. We never know.
Yeah, I feel like he's trying to. I feel like he's trying to play against his clock still, which I feel like is a bit of a mistake when you have a totally winning position here. But at the same time, I still think White's going to win the game. But
true,
without,
he did get a b.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't blunder here. With how quickly he's moving, I think there's a chance Eddie could come back here. Small chance, but
And this is very interesting. Now the queen is hanging for the first time in the whole game. I mean, there's no queen fork, anymore. So the queen and rook both are hanging, and he did get some threats like AB, and now queen f8, and suddenly now White doesn't know what to do because if he plays b6, the queen hangs. If he moves the queen, then the rook hangs. Okay, he do have knight b6 followed by knight c4, but the pieces are hanging. Maybe this. Okay, he goes queen f5. In my opinion, this would have been simpler. Just straight pieces and try to create a new play c3 and capture those.
What's happening here if he takes the rook?
And knight b6, king back. And okay, still there's knight d7. Wow, not knight c4 only.
Yeah.
So this knight is very, very strong.
Oh, and he took the rook. Oh. And John blitzes out knight b6 with emphasis. We can see on the camera actually. These guys are playing on camera right now. So
yeah, yes.
So John was waiting for knight b6 and he's getting it. So it looks like this is leading to.
But will he play this or will he play this?
Yep.
What do you think?
Yep, knight d7's on the board. I already saw it on camera.
Yes, right.
So good job by John finding these tactics.
So king a8 and wait, there's also b6 here.
Yeah, we'll see. Is he gonna stop? You can tell he's getting satisfaction on a blitzing here. Is he gonna just grab the queen, or is he gonna think about b6?
This just reminds me of this of Lasker. There's a famous quote of him. Like when you see a good move, look for a better one. So we have got this good move. We look for a better one, getting the queen. Again, we have got a good move, but then again, we can think of getting checkmating the opponent because after rook c2 check, he can simply go king g3 or something, and simply the king could come like this. Like rook c3, you can take it, but if you just come like this, it's going to be game over.
I can see on camera he took the queen.
Yeah. Okay. It's still winning because after you take, there's a b6.
Yeah, I've also heard a quote in chess. If you can take a queen or you give a mate, take the queen because there may be no mate. But
Yeah. Sure. No need to take any risk, and if you see one win, it's enough. Like just go for it. Okay, let's go to some other game because this game is probably over. So we haven't looked at the game between Robert and Toffee.
What's your attitude there? If you had a choice between a full queen and mate in 3, do you play mate in 3?
I would first look how much time I have got, and I would just rather love to calculate the mate. And if I'm sure, I'll just go for it. Maybe recheck once. But let's say if I have 30 seconds on the clock, maybe I'll just capture the queen.
Got it. The answer no one likes in chess. It depends. Depends on the position. Depends on the clock.
Yeah, depends on the position, depends upon the time control, depends upon the opponent,
Yeah.
And of course your confidence levels.
Yeah, if you're playing
So
Rajabov, maybe
e4
just take the queen.
maybe. And we are witnessing Alekhine
Okay.
here, Alekhine defense. And
Yeah.
both the players were playing very, very fast here.
Yes. They're both known. The whole club's kind of like that for the most part, except for Eddie.
So this was the point. Like if you go queen f knight c4, you drop a piece. You might think, okay, queen f4 knight c6, but then the c4 knight hangs. So black cannot really take on c4, and that's why d5 was played. Takes takes, and black got a reasonable position out of the opening. Maybe a good one. But this was kind of unnecessary. Maybe he could have just focused on developing his pieces, like bishop e6 or rook f8. And look, the moment white black played d6, some threats h4, h5 unnecessarily. Now queen h6 is gonna come. But okay, there's okay one trick. For example, let's say I'll say pass or something, bishop e6, and you go queen h6. Let's say pass or something, and you go h5. You might even lose a queen. So
Yeah.
one needs to be careful about such things, because we are just in flow. We just go like h4, h5, queen h6, and then we realize, oh no, my queen is just getting trapped there. So, but black played h5 immediately, queen h6, and queen e8. I was wondering what was happening if it captures. Probably bishop takes g6, f g6, queen g6, king h8, and queen h5, and then the bishop also hangs. So yeah, once you move the pawns, this becomes weak, and he had to play queen e8,
Yeah, plus,
defending g6.
even if you didn't see it as more, you can almost dismiss that just because you don't want him to perpetuate you.
Mhm. Now castles. Can he take now? He played bishop f6 in the game. I'm wondering why not this, because now there's no rook on h1. There's no takes on g6.
Yeah,
Maybe just knight f4.
just for some context on this too, Roberts kind of 2190 peak, and
Wow.
Torfi more you know lower rated. So definitely Robert's kind of this high rated guy that just plays crazy every week and plays crazy openings and takes way excessive risk for not great reason, but at the same time he's like really good at end games and pretty good at calculation. He'd be
And
better.
also
He'd be
he's
better if he
playing
took. He'd
very
be better if
fast.
he took his time. Yeah, he doesn't take enough time is the problem. So, but at the same time, I can see why Torfi's wanting to just play bishop f6, bishop g7, not going to any pawn grabbing complications against a high rated player.
And now they're planning to, like, black is offering the end game, like has offered, but he played queen g3 because he wanted to keep the attack going with f4. That's why he had played rook e1, so that he could do some f4, f5 business. And look, he's just going like this. So I'm wondering, like, what bishop f5, g f5, because I don't know how black white is going to control the dark squares. I mean, he don't have dark square bishop. Now there are pawns, so a little bit more ambitious play by white, I would say. And yeah,
Still
bishop.
looking a bit scary. I mean,
It's a bit scary, yes, but like, everything is so much work. Like once the bishop d4 comes, it's game over. That's why he has offered the rook on e5. And I was wondering what if he just takes. Okay, for rook e5, there was some kind of a rook f5, but if he just takes and goes rook e8, which happened in the game, okay, there was some tricks. Like if he captures on e5, we have a knight f3 simply, winning back the rook. But after king f8, okay, he got this check, rook e7, and as I said, like it's, I was wondering always that how white is going to take control over the dark squares. Queen c3, and now there's the idea of e6. So he needs to play bishop e6 or something like that. Maybe not that dangerous though, because queen protects everything.
yeah. So what you're seeing here is basically, even though this pawn storm and there's open lines coming to the king, it doesn't really matter because you're not really going to be able to access the dark squares around the king that you need to actually mate them.
Yeah. So in my opinion, if black plays a bit of solid, shows some good defense for next few moves, it will be game over. Because white is about to end all his counterplay very soon. There is like the rook is not doing much. The knight looks good, but after bishop e6, I don't see what they're actually doing in the game. And and okay, the moment the rook comes in and the other joins it, it will be game over. Only thing white can hope is the black's time. He has got some advantage on clock. So only that's the hope.
Perfect.
Okay, let's move to the game between Norman and Daniel.
Yes, Norman versus Daniel. So this is potentially a game. Yeah, I think this is Premier Section still, but these are slightly lower rated players, maybe around 1800.
Okay, let's have a look from the beginning. So it was a king's pawn opening with three knights as of now. Bishop b5, bishop d7. So we could call it maybe a delayed Spanish or something. Takes. Maybe this was not needed, but okay. Bishop g5 in better moment. So with bishop b5, he wants to play queen d8, rook d8, and knight b5, c6. Yeah, this was maybe a better idea for black, just take, because then the e4 remains hanging. But he played c6. So the point here is very simple. Like the bishop is annoying, just take it, and then you go c6. But if you just play c6, then the annoying bishop still remains, and it's not so good as black to keep that bishop. Okay. The point is after castle, there's a bishop to h6, and probably knight h5, there's a queen f3.
Oh, we got Eddie in the chat saying got hurt today badly. He's the one who just dropped the queen. Sorry, Eddie, but looks like John played a nice game there despite not using much time.
Yeah. That was fast and furious.
But at least you'll get a good chance to watch the rest of the games close out live. And John actually having a pretty nice tournament this month. Had a few upsets and lost last week. But besides last week's loss, he's beaten up on some players who have beat him in the past for sure. So maybe John's on a upswing, especially if he starts using his time.
So now he's on 3 points out of 4 games, so probably on the second place or the shared second place.
Yep.
Bishop a2, and yeah, I was about to say like when this black is going to castle. Like he did every possible thing he could have done, not done maybe, and in the end now, okay, he says, okay, it's done now. I'm out of moves, so I'll castle.
Yeah, I'd say that's a theme in this club. I feel like I see it all the time. People like to do something unique and different instead of follow the rules of Capablanca or something.
Yeah. So at some point, Norman was promoting the no castling chess, and then he was like, okay, no, I was wrong. I need to castle because this king feels so safe and my king doesn't, and the rooks now feel better than being connected. And Daniel just took it. Probably he will also take it, and maybe rook d1 is gonna come. So this is going to be a balanced game. Probably this will be one of the longest game we will witness today. But also let's move to the other games where we have Michael playing against Basil.
Yes, Michael Basil against Michael Muff. So we got the Battle of the Michaels.
Yes. Trying to understand this position. Looks Good for white, but there is some pressure here. The pieces are active. This is hanging. White is about to win another pawn. Let's see from the beginning to understand it better. So it was a King's Indian Fianchetto defense. And mainline stuff. Black was prepared, playing fast. So the idea is to go b5, b4 usually, and get rid of the problems on the diagonal. So e4, usually not so good idea. Usually they play bishop f4 or try to get some e4, e5. But e4 played, and now the b4 square is weak. e5 immediately. And as I said, like black could have just even gone knight b4 followed by e5. And if white plays, let's say a5, then you have got c5 or something, followed by b6.
Interesting.
Now the knight looks a bit strange, like there's a b4 coming in, so c5 is forced. Rook b1. Okay. Little bit passive play by white, but okay, it's okay because the king remains safe. A very good play by black, trying to improve the knight from a5 to c5, getting the important bishop. And okay, then finally I decided to improve back to the original position. And now this pawn is very hard to save because after rook f6, we have got a5. And for that reason, black opted for bishop h6 attacking the knight. a5 was played as the b8 rook is hanging and queen f7. So the point is, if you take like b6, the f2 is hanging. So knight f1 again. So we saw this move twice in the game, and pretty sure Vasil was not sure about what to do with this knight. Maybe he could have just put on e3 at some point when the bishop was on g7. But now this allows b5 because a b6 was threatened or rook b6 was threatened. So after b5, what's the point? Takes. I could still see white can take on b5. Maybe c4 he wants at some point. I mean, this is the live position.
So, question for you: how positionally valuable is that protected pasture on d5? Because it looks so nice, but I feel like sometimes it just doesn't matter if black has active pieces.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting question. How important or how strong is this d5 pawn? So right now the pawn is not that strong because it takes this square for the knight. So maybe you would like to do d6, knight d5, but then you don't really want to do d6 because as a chess player, you think long term. And when you think about the end game, you find that all end games are winning for you because you have got the passed pawn. The always one piece will be stuck to defend it, or the king has to be around this square. King cannot go much. And you feel better that you have got this pawn. So it is a strength, but this will only speak if the game goes to the end game. And that's the black's take, that black wants to do something in the middle game. If he could hit somewhere on f4, g3, some tactics, if he could get bishop like this, maybe it will be something. But he's very far from that. Like he can play c4, the rook will go to b4, and there's no time to play bishop f8 because white just threatens to take on here or here. But maybe something like this could be done, but then you lose. The problem is you lose control over f2. But he needs to do something like this. Like I don't know how it's gonna work out, but let's say takes and some kind of a bishop f8, and only after bishop c5 there'll be threats like knight g3 and f2 and something. Again, this pawn looks very strong. If, for example, he plays queen b7, you need to find rook c7, and already very strong. Now you don't have bishop c5. You do have rook c8, but then there's a7. So you just lose it because the pawns are really strong. So I don't know how exactly black is going to continue this. He took on b5. Let's see. So rook b5, knight b5 is forced. Okay, he goes knight b5. I was not so sure about this because this allows c4 with the tempo, but
Plus,
maybe fine.
maybe just you should be maybe more eager to trade pieces here. Get your
Yeah, so yeah, this was my point. So c4, rook b4, and now c3. The point is after knight c3, there's a rook b4, and the overloaded queen loses control over f2, and black gets counterplay, like a serious counterplay, like king h2, even this is possible. And you must take, and now bishop f4, and it's, oops, cannot defend it. It's going to be a mate. So there are some serious problems if
that's a big oops.
white is yellow. And after c3 also, like you don't have really good squares. Like you cannot capture because of f2. And you think that, okay, you can go to a2 or c2, but then there's bishop d2 coming in. And again, there is no way to defend this. So this is some kind of a mistake, I believe. He could have gone for b5. After knight b5, the c4, c3 is really dangerous. And that's what probably Michael is thinking right now.
Yeah, and also if we back it up just a couple moves, I wonder if they could have kind of recognized that f2 is so weak and taken
Mhm.
some slower measures to make sure there's no counterplay against f2 before winning b5. But because yeah, I think
Let's see if you could find this. If you find this, excellent. b5 worked out.
instead of knight takes b5, would you maybe want to think about? Yeah, I'm just thinking my knight f1 is misplaced because I want to be able to play rook f1 if I feel like it. So
Yeah, even if you could have got this some at some point, you could have just, created some defense or rook f3 or something at some point. Just block the f file, the attack on f2. Because, it's not a good idea to keep the queen um, like this is overloaded queen, we call it. Like it is also working in the vertical direction, also in the horizontal direction. So queen has to defend the b3 also and f2 also. And at some point, if your opponent is good in tactics, he will catch you or he will put you under some pressure. So this is not good in long term. For a move or two, maybe it's okay. You defend f2, b3 both, do something. But this pawn deserves some permanent support, something like f3 or rook coming like this. But right now there's no time. c4, c3 is very, very fast. All right, let's have a look at other games. We have two more games.
yeah, this one's interesting. So Nathan playing on two boards. He does that when there's odd number of players.
Wow.
Just plays simul basically. So this is him playing down in the lower section. So Mitchell is a lot lower rated, but getting a good chance to play against National Master.
Yeah, I have never seen any player doing simul in a classical game. Like
Yeah, it gets
this
pretty.
is something serious.
It
Here
gets
also is winning this. Yeah, okay.
if he's playing on both boards and gets down a low time, it gets pretty funny watching him run between both boards. But it happens fairly often actually. Um, but yeah, it's not the most intense club, So um, get some little more casual stuff like that happening now and then. But
And this is a blunder. There's a rook e5, queen e5, and queen g5 coming in.
ah,
What did he capture? Okay, okay. It's not really a blunder because white has seen this, so no option for black. So we are going to witness this, and white has just won a pawn. Okay, played very fast.
wow, shocking.
Yeah,
I'm shocking to see
and
Nathan blunder that. Yeah, it's kind of shows that back rank weakness. Got to get that bishop developed. Get those rooks connected.
and this is going to be difficult for Nathan. He's hardly have any moves. Like if he goes queen g7, he also drops d4. Probably king f8, queen takes d8, king d7, and then white simply can improve the rook. And this is very, very difficult to develop. Like rook b8 is an idea there, and you try to develop the bishop with the support of queen, but it will be very, very late. You already lost 2-3 pawns in the process.
Yeah, this is shocking. Mitchell got a great opportunity here to upset
So let's
Nathan.
just have a look from the beginning, maybe.
Sure. I'm gonna just take a step away just for 1 minute while you're looking here, and I'll be right back.
Okay. All right.
But go ahead and proceed.
So it, sure. So it was a Queen's Gambit, starting with c4, which got transferred into Queen's Gambit, probably decline at some point, or they accepted. Okay, they didn't decide to accept or decline. So if black takes, it's accepted. If white takes, it's declined. But both of them trying to play some Ragozin setup, or nowadays we also call it the modern version of Queen's Gambit. So c5 was played, e3, takes, queen f1, some kind of Ragozin position. And such sacrifices are very normal in Ragozin, but usually they try to have pawn on e3. Because then, yeah, as I said, like now you cannot play e3. He did get g3, and Nathan had very good control over the center. In my opinion, he's still better here. It's dynamically balanced, we could say. a4, 24, rook b1, takes, then rook b5. And this is how the white player got a lot of counterplay. Queen d2, and yeah, so rook d8 was a blunder because then the g5 d8 was hanging. Maybe something like rook b8 in the beginning and bishop d7 was better idea. But still, there is move like queen h6 and knight g5, f6, bishop d5. Not an easy position with exposed king for sure. And he lost some material here. We will witness king g7 and probably rook d1 next. So at other board, Nathan is winning this rook game against Connor, which is a good thing. But here he has really messed up. King g7 played. Okay, do we have anything better than rook d1? Maybe rook b1 is also an option. But anyway, black is going to play rook to b8. So I believe it's better to attack the d4 pawn and just play this in-game, something like rook d1, rook b8. And now you've got options to play rook d4 or queen d4. So rook d4, there's a bishop e6. Queen g5 checking goes back. I think this is simpler. You just trade off pieces and try to win this. With c5 or bishop d5, even a5 is also possible, fixing the weaknesses. But still, white is just a pawn up, so still some technique is needed, and maybe that's what Nathan will rely on, that he could survive this somehow in the rook game. So let's see. It will be interesting to see how he converts this advantage. And this is the last board between Raf and Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy is white. Queen h1 is threatened here. Looks very, very dangerous for white. Probably almost a mate, because what I could see is just check. King goes here. Now, like, you even have this move takes, and there's knight h3 winning on the spot. You could also give a check and make a queen if you like. Even king g3, you got moves like rook f3. And it's just game over, like take g1 and
Yeah,
two queens. Yeah.
that's a static. Double check.
Yeah, so king e2 probably only move.
Discovery.
And now even if you play something like queen, okay, you can make a queen for sure. But even if you play something like queen h2, it's impossible to defend g1. And it's a game over. So very nice attack by the black player. Let's see how it got launched. It was an English opening, symmetrical one. I have never seen anyone doing this to white in symmetrical English. Let's see. And white was doing good. I mean, it was not a bad position
Oh,
for white at all.
wait, so bishop h6. What was going? Oh, there was queen fork there. Okay, little
So the fork
small
here.
tactics.
That's, yeah. So Jeremy was playing well. Like he was looking for some tactics and decent moves. He has played, I mean, reasonable moves throughout. Like no real mistakes. Uh, but then suddenly this knight d4 came in. Okay, he forgot to play e3, but maybe he was worried about rook d8, and there were some issues. He got knight d4 in, then again move wested. Maybe rook e1 was better. Then he got f5, takes h5, h4. Very good presence of mind by black. And in 5 moves, like, okay, he got this, and this is a beautiful shot. So imagine if you could have played rook e1 at some point, at least he would have got the opportunity to play rook e2, f3, and give exchange and survive. But after this, just f3 is unstoppable.
Nice.
A nice force. Wait, f3, there's a h3 check coming in. That's what happened, and he lost everything 1v1. And king e3, and now we're going to witness the same rook f3. Well, g1 also wins, because if you take, it's a mate. So everything wins. So now it's up to Ralph that how he wants to finish this.
Wow, that was a
Both-
quick
both-
turnaround.
Yeah.
Cool. So we've actually gotten through every board then, huh?
Yeah, we went through all the boards.
Did we go? Did we show board one? Yeah, I think we did.
Sorry, which one?
Did we show board one? Because I know we started on board two.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Yeah. So this game, let's have a look. It was a king's pawn opening, I believe. Yeah, it was a Petrov turned into a 3 knights again. And I believe everyone knows what's the point after bishop f7, king. There's a trick here. So bishop f7, king f7, knight g5. What here, if he goes king 8, there's 96. King f8, 96. So black needs to go king g8 here, not really king g6. And after this, the point is this, and there's a queen g6. And now black wins this. Because after knight 8, there's a queen g2. So this is the point of this particular line. The sacrifice, which looks good, doesn't really work.
Wait, so White had that opportunity and they didn't play it, or?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, in the history, like people used to play that, thinking that okay, black has just blundered. He has not played c6, and we have got a chance to do this because it looks fancy. And they think that okay, king e8, knight e6, queen trapped, king f8, knight e6, queen gone. They think king g6, okay, nice, wow, we can play h4, h5, and something nice. The king is stuck, and they think okay, if king goes back, okay, we have got knight e6, and if queen here, knight 4, can we get the rook? But then the engine said, no, it's not like this. You can play queen g2, rook f1, knight e4, and it's actually black who's winning here. So, yeah, games had happened like this in the past, before the engines era. So just one needs to know that why this is not good or shouldn't be played.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to ask Dane if he actually knew that line, because those don't look like easy moves to find if you don't know about it.
Yeah. So c6, a4, queen c7, knight g5. And okay, castles. Now maybe f4 or something. But f4 also has some problems, like takes, and there's a d5 idea with bishop coming in. So not that easy. And that's why they say that you should not move your pieces twice in the opening. This pawn needs support, maybe just play bishop to e3, h3 like this, or rook e1. And we could see the knight getting misplaced to h3 in the game. And probably that's why this is where white started going wrong. Even after nf3, there is some kind of knight d4, I believe, and followed by d5. So
Nice. We got regular viewer Evan in the chat saying Dane continuing his infinite win streak. So yeah, Dane is actually a really powerful player at the club. He's club president. He runs the club, and so he plays a lot. But also, he's one of the highest rated in the club.
Well, that's nice. Welcome. It's nice to see people coming, joining in. Welcome, guys. Do
Yep.
like the stream.
Yep, we got 6 viewers right now. Thanks for everyone watching.
And 94. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Dane's a pretty interesting player too. Yeah, he mains Petrov among other openings, but he's definitely not playing for any boring draws. He loves to kind of just get his pieces developed, skip the opening, and then play for a middle game attack. So if the opening went well, his games look amazing because his middle game skills are so good. And if the opening didn't go well, he's going to try to attack anyways, and maybe it'll be dubious. Is I would say Dane's general profile.
And this was the first mistake. He could have gone bishop d3 and at least try to get the pawn back. But maybe he was worried about something like f5, f2 coming in. But it was okay. Like he can save the bishop and again get back to the attack. But instead he decided to sacrifice another pawn. And this was and again a bishop. So this went in the wrong direction. Maybe he was hoping that something will be done here. But the queen came in, defended everything. And he also had ideas with something like rook g3 probably, but again the queen comes in time to defend things nearby the king, and the bishop attacks the rook. No time to move the bishop and also gave the check. So he sacrifices that also, and this is just game over, like too much sacrifice in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like Ezekiel must play a lot of blitz chess.
This could happen, yeah.
Carrying some of those principles over to his classical game, because it looks like some of these lines were just calculated based on, it looks scary, but if you're sacking a piece, you need to calculate it to the point where at least a few moves in, where it's not just getting refuted in 2 moves. So.
But okay, I would say good game by Zager. He played really good. He defended well, and whenever he got chances after the opening, he just took them. He played a good game, I think. Good game from black side. Let's put it like this.
Yeah, he's a good member of our club. He recently won 2 national tournaments, won over $10,000 in prizes in U2100 sections. So
that's great to hear.
He's also kind of clutch where he wins those money rounds and doesn't really care about big games. He comes to win and makes it happen a lot. So Dane is definitely having a good month for the most part.
Yeah, we have got one more result here, and we did witness this checkmate. G1 queen takes and queen f3 checkmate. So we have got 4 results so far. Nathan has won his first game, and he's still trying to find some way on this board to develop his pieces. He literally went for queen takes e2, which was considered to be risky. We thought we were talking about rook b8 and bishop b6 idea, but he went for queen e2, rook 24 check, king to j6. And now his point is probably after queen d8 or queen something like this. He wants to play bishop pieces because the rook is hanging. And maybe he has found something, but I'm still not sure about this because this is bishop f1 coming in. Okay, this is not so great. Now he can simply play bishop e6.
Yeah.
He will lose a pawn, but if he gets pieces activated, I think that's what he needs right now.
So now Nathan's just playing one board because he already beat Connor. So we might be seeing a comeback starting to be staged. But I do think it was kind of funny that Nathan's playing 2 boards and he already beat up the much stronger player, and he's got a losing position against the much weaker player. So
yeah,
kind of funny turn of events this week. Not much. Connor's not much stronger, but Connor's got a good record against Nathan, and he's a very high rated player who's an extremely good calculator. And Mitchell is low rated, playing in the lower section, and and outplay Nathan, and Nathan outplaying Connor. So just kind of funny little turn of events, but we'll see. Maybe Nathan will win on both boards. Nice night for Nathan. But
I think he's gonna survive this. His opponent's down to 8 minutes,
yeah,
and it's not still clear that how exactly he's gonna win this because bishop b7. I mean, this rook is also hanging right at some point, so he can even play rook b8 or something to confuse him. Uh,
yeah,
and okay, he's losing that way, but there's still a game. And now he has only one board to focus, so probably he will find some tricky ideas here and there and survive. The question is if he can win this as well.
yeah. I think if Nathan equalizes, he's gonna win because he's much higher rated, and that's a tough
Okay,
that's a tough psychological
we do.
blow to get equalized on when you're winning. But
We have one more result. Michael Muff has lost to Basil, and but how did this happen? So we were discussing about c4, and there was a knight d6. Wait a sec. Did we miss this brilliant move?
yeah,
So rook b3, knight f7, rook b2, knight h6, king here. Wow, he found the best move in the position, knight d6.
shows us for
Amazing.
commentating with the engine off. We're missing the brilliant moves the players are finding. So
Yeah, that's great to see.
yeah,
Well done, Basil. But there's no
actually,
reputation for this. Yeah.
yeah, Michael, you can say you found a move and I am didn't even see it. On first glance.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Because I was like, this is hanging, and then okay, you have lost like a lot of material, but then there's a check, and you just capture back the rook, and okay, like it's a winning, like because you were just materially up, and now as we discussed this how strong this d pawn or the a pawn, and as it's an end game, so they will like, and okay, even this is hanging because knight comes to e3 on the round at the right moment, and
Yeah,
black just resign here because he's losing everything.
yeah, that's a very classical chess moment. You gotta
Uh,
even when stuff doesn't look aesthetically pleasing, because you're just letting yourself get hit with c4. And what's interesting to think is, I wonder if he saw that before he played knight takes b5, because that'd be pretty cool.
yeah. Very
Uh,
good game by Basil, I must say.
uh,
Well played.
that,
Like
that'd be
throughout the
quite
opening.
that'd be quite the little trap. Um,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he should not. I mean, just this was too much. So if he's maybe stop doing this, he will win even faster. And yeah, but okay, he found the blow at the right moment. So well done.
yeah, come back just a moment to when he played knight takes b5, because I'm just curious on your perspective on when knight takes b5 versus rook takes b5. How often are you playing for traps in your game? If you see, hey, knight takes b5, c4 is failing because you saw that whole variation, are you like, oh wow, now I kind of like knight takes c5 because he's
But
probably gonna play c4, or are you more just like, I'm just gonna go full objective? How often
in
do you
my
set
opinion, black
traps?
needs to. Yeah, so in my opinion, black needs to take the chance because if he doesn't play c4, c3 idea, he has nothing to play for. Like a6, a7 is coming, knight d6 is coming. And if you take on b5, like you are just down an exchange and still with no threats. Like you cannot do much. So let's say c4, also you got rook c4 and the pawn cannot be saved. And these pieces are not doing really much. They are not well connected. As I said, the bishop needs to be on c5. So I would rather try to play some variation in which I could get the bishop on f8 or pawn to c4 in some way, like somehow, maybe queen d7, but then the e5 also hangs. So it's a difficult position indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe queen e8 or something. But even there's a a6, a7. Looks losing to me. So rather I would just take a chance with c4, and if my opponent finds this, finds it. Otherwise, anyway, the black is losing this. So I would rather take this chance.
Makes sense. So yeah, we are getting close to decisive results around. Still got a few games left.
And it was surprising why he did not take on b7. It was a free pawn. Instead, he went for c5, and now the rook came in. Now the point is after bishop b7, he wants to play rook c5 as the rook is hanging down.
So Nathan's
It's already a mistake. Yeah.
starting to up the dynamics now that he's able to calculate some variations, only playing on one board.
Rook b1, queen c2. I'm pretty sure after rook b7 he will also go rook c5 and not try to trade queens, though his king is weak. But maybe he can start with h4 and some tricks this side. But this is getting trickier for white. He's down to 5 minutes. And okay, we'll come back to this. We have not seen the trophy from long time, where he's down to 3.5 minutes. It looks like he's winning. He's up a piece, but there are some checks and some threats. So this is a real threat probably, because the bishop is blocked. So we need to calculate bishop b3, what's happening in this. So bishop b3 at h6. There's no time for queen e6 because takes h7. So bishop b3, h6, he needs to play bishop takes e6. And now the only question is if he can play queen h8 followed by h7. So queen h8, there's a queen f8. And after takes, the king just comes to stop the pawn. So black is winning if he takes on b3.
And what about checking on b8?
So queen b8, there's a queen d8, and queen b7, there's a bishop takes e6. So just in time.
Yeah, no, but okay. h6, bishop takes, queen b8. Oh, he can just play king f7 right away, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, yeah, this is kind of somewhat something, maybe, because, well, I'm thinking queen blocks, queen takes, king takes, and h6.
You can. And king f7 at some point.
Yeah, but even just right here, say he blocks, he has to block with the queen,
Oh,
right?
the queen d8 takes h6, yeah?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and it looks like he found that.
And wait, is he winning this? Yes. And there's no way. So he's
Yeah.
winning this.
He has to check the other way and then
F3,
pulls the king away.
Okay, it just need to take this. And but f4, okay, it's not enough. Just to check, and it's not enough. So apparently this turned out to be a blunder or something. Because if king f8 there was a mate here, if king b8 there's a mate here. Don't tell me this is winning for white. So bishop c2, h5, and it's winning for white. I'm surprised. Because even for queen h7 there's a check, and the queen hangs. Maybe he needs to start with f3. And now f2 is a threat, so this needs to be captured, I believe.
Yeah, no. This is actually what happens all the time in Robert's games. He gets these miraculous tactics at the end because he sees. He calculates well. So you know.
And probably this was the way in which black would have won this. Because now the diagonal is open, the bishop just defends it. Probably, I mean, bishop c2 was already going in the wrong direction. But this allowed some tactics, and now he's actually losing this. And now black has realized that the pawn is getting ruined, and he's thinking, but there's nothing much to think here. There's only one legal move.
Yeah, this is a chess's cruel moment, but it's not atypical with Robert playing.
And he has resigned.
I still play out a few more moves, but it's, you know, I guess it is all forced. I'm kind of the type though that I'll either let him mate me, or I'll let him promote to a new queen. As soon as they get the queen on the board, then I'll resign. Because you never know. You never know what they're gonna do. They could.
Yeah, he might have just taken on b7. We never know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, this is like witnessing a game between grandmasters where they resign respectfully, thinking that it's just lost.
Yeah, and I'm sure it would have been, but I don't know. I'm not that respectful, I guess.
Yeah, maybe he could have played one more move at least, and see if he could just get playing h6 or not, or maybe at least could have tried the f3 trick. You never know. They just push and you get some chance to play f2 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like make him mate me with queen, king, queen against king or something, but I feel like I'll at least resolve the tactics. Wait until I'm down the full rook or I'm down the full queen or
Yeah, makes
whatever,
sense.
and then I'll resign instead of like, oh, you're about to win my queen. Okay, well we both see that, so because even if it only happens, 1 out of 20 games, they might, yeah, play queen takes b7, and then you're like, okay, we're playing.
So this is the end game between Daniel and Norman. It looks equalish, but black has some chances as he has got some space. Maybe he can get bishop e6 at the right moment. Currently, he's planning g6 f5, which is also a good idea to gain some space on the queen side. Maybe g4 is necessary now, and then maybe bishop e6 could come. So let's just discuss something like this. So now white must take more or less, and now there are weaknesses. But are they good enough to? But there's also h5. The point is, okay, you might lose pawn like this, but again, I mean, a check, but then again, you gain it with this. So if the pawns keeps on getting exchanged, it could be a draw, but it also could give black chance to enter like this. So black has definitely some chances to win this, and we will see what happens. Just now, king d2 played. White is also making a similar plan to enter the black camp from the queen side. But I believe black will be faster because the f5 gives some threat on the e4, so he needs to capture. Wait, is there some h5 here? F4, pawn takes pawn. So yeah, the funny variation. Let's say this question was with blacks to play f5, h5, f4, fg6, fe3, and then g7, and then it's impossible to stop the pawn from queening. But king d2, and now this same version does not work because after f5, h5, f4, fg6, fe3 is a check to the king. So this was the best time for black to get f5, but instead black goes h5, which is very, very surprising. He could have
Yeah,
just gone for f5.
yeah. I don't think either players here has probably studied Dvoretsky. You know, we got kind of a 16 to 1800 rated game here, so it does make sense that they're probably just kind of playing with their own plans a little bit. That was a pretty cool variation you showed, though. Really showing the power of that kind of hidden bishop on a2. Hey, if you're not careful, I'm just going to get g7 in, and you can't stop that with king f7. So that's a pretty cool resource to make sure you're watching out for.
And now I'm thinking I'm already thinking that how white could win this because this is a serious threat. There could be c4 at some point, then the d5 would be very, very weak. And now black has got some weaknesses because all the pawns are in the large squares, and that makes the bishop bad. So, and if white starts attacking the weaknesses like c4 takes and just simply king coming like this, it could be a problem. Like you could play knight d3, knight b2, but then the knight will be trapped on b2. So it would be interesting if white goes like this or he just opts for something like c4. He goes g3, as you said, they will play with their own plans. So let's try to understand the game between Nathan. And lots of things happen here meanwhile. We left it around here. So rook c8, rook b1, queen c2, rook b7 we discussed. Okay, this check. And there's no bishop c4 guide, it's a pin. So rook c5, rook a7. And rook c6 with the idea of bishop to c4.
Yeah, looks scary.
Queen. Yeah, it's very, very scary. That's why I played queen to f4. And because there's probably no other move. If he plays anything else, maybe queen f8 is possible, but maximum he will get a perpetual or something. But okay, he tries to trade queens and make the extra pawn count. Takes, and now again there's a rook c1. Okay, this is already a draw, I could say. So rook c1, there's a bishop c4 threat, so you need to play king g2 or something. There's a bishop d5. You need to play f3 to save the piece. Now, okay, there are two moves likely that you do this, or you just capture on f3 and call the day off, put your rook behind the pass pawn, and it's a draw. So let's see how it goes.
I feel like it's hard psychologically for the high rated player to do that, but to go for the passive draw, to go for the drawing line where you have no chances of coming back. You're just, but
Maybe he can also play rook c3, trying to keep some pressure there, but I don't see black winning with this pawn structure. But okay, he can try like something like king h5. For example, he can try king h5, bishop goes here, king h4, and try to make things difficult. For example, now bishop d5 is a threat, so bishop f3, and now bishop c4, and suddenly it's a mate threat, which cannot be defended. So there are some tricks, of course. Probably the only move here is h3 now. And if the only move is like this, it means something has went wrong in the past. But there's a rook c3, rook c4, apart from bishop h3. At bishop h3, then suddenly it will be white will be checkmating black. So so there are some risks in this. It's not without any risk. Even for rook c3, there's a rook f7, and if you capture the bishop, it's a checkmate.
yeah, I feel like I
But then
noticed
there's
in club
Yeah.
in club level chess, I feel like they really take those rating gaps to heart, even when they have a bad position, and it's hard for them to play for passive defense or play for a draw. I always want to play for the full swindle chances. And yeah, maybe when you get a little high rated, it's a little easier, or you're playing against an equal rated player, it's a little easier to be like, okay, I'm just much worse here. I'm trying to draw.
Right. So still black has got some tricks with bishop c4, bishop d5, king coming in, but he needs to be careful as his pawns are weak, and once the pawn starts rolling, it will be difficult for black. So this is the moment where black needs to decide whether he's going for a draw or a win. But right now we see Michel having trouble with the time. He's down to 1 minute. He's still thinking what happens after king g2. Maybe he's also thinking about rook a6, but that would be a mistake. The king would just love to come forward to try to pin it, and this threat cannot be stopped. So I think he needs to play this, and this would be very nice blunder to notice after rook a6, king h5, king g2. There's some kind of a rook takes f1, king f1,
Nice.
bishop c4. But rook e6 comes in time, and usually rook f2 wins for black, but there's extra pawn here. So this is going to be white's win if he captures. So rook a1, and again he could make a draw like this always. We have got this king g4 and some h5 ideas, but this is a draw basically. But here, I mean, white needs to play king g2. I don't see any other good move. Meanwhile, in this game, black opted for bishop e6, and we are seeing c4, but now c4 is not that dangerous because the bishop is not there. Let's stick to this because okay, rook a6 on the board. This is already going in the wrong direction, I feel.
Yeah, so I can tell you can see just throwing the rook behind the pawn there is autopilot draw. Curious how much you've studied rook end games. How important are rook end games at your level? As far as
So actually, this is winning for black by force now because after king h5, this cannot be prevented. You play king g2, and now there's an intermediate check. You don't allow black to capture on e6. So you need to play f3, and then you can take on f1. Or if you go down, there's a bishop c4 or rook f1. So f3, this is what I want to tell. And now there's a poke, and it's game over. Double attack coming in.
Yeah, that's cool. So when you see a tactic and it's not working, then just try to make it work.
Yeah, just look for the intermediate moves, the checks especially, which are very easy to miss. And already this Nathan is winning this if he finds king h5. Not necessarily king h5, probably king this one also wins. He just needs to move the king from the pen, and it's game over. There could be one possible tactic, and that is something like rook c. Okay, let's just move the rook. And the point here is, or you can even play something like a5, not really a5 because rook f1 is a check, so rook c7. And the point was after bishop c4, you can try to pin this, forcing black to play rook f1, king g2, and rook c1 again. Or maybe there are more moves. And this is also simple because there's a bishop d5 check coming in. I was wondering if a5 6 works at some point, but right now there's a check, so double checks are there, so king g3 only move probably. And even if black plays rook c2, it's winning because a5, there's a bishop c2, and a lot of time for bishop to go back to e4. f3 will just lead him to bishop d3. So this is almost winning for Nathan if he finds, okay, he found king h5,
Now,
king g2, and now just a check.
yeah, let's see if he finds the check or if he goes for rook takes f1. You never know. He's
Yeah, that would be
I
interesting
think
to
I
see.
think I think he's gonna find
The
Mr.
check, yeah.
Check. Yeah, he's got the time. He's on one board, but
So we will be
yeah,
left with the game with
I feel like
Shaikh, yeah.
if you do a lot of puzzles, you usually find you find the intermezzo check. If you play a lot of blitz, you might play just rook takes f1
Very true.
because you're doing you're doing the acquiescent errors in blitz more than you are in puzzles. In puzzles, you're always trying to find the best defenses for your opponents,
Yeah.
and then you find the best defense for rook takes f1 is rook takes e6, and you say, oh, how do I solve that? Oh, I can throw a check in first, and now he can't play rook takes e6, and now my tactic works. Very straightforward puzzle logic, but not necessarily straightforward blitz logic. But this is
So we'll be
class.
left with one interesting endgame. Yeah,
This is classical chess, though. I think Nathan will find that. And okay, yeah, we've got our knight. Okay, knight end game's like a pawn end game, right? So this is pretty much
exactly.
this is getting
That's a
into
botanic formula.
some, but those knights still make things complicated. Not quite the
Yeah.
same as the pawn end game, but that's how you can
Yeah. The
evaluate
funny
it.
thing is after check, let's say you play this move. Okay, this is a blunder. King c2, knight d4 lands. But even king c3, knight d4. But now you try to push the pawn. There's a knight e2 and knight g3. So what I could see is white is going to drop some pawns here if we don't play king e1, which is very unlikely, or king d1.
Yeah, kind of showing a downside of that just kind of random unnecessary g3 earlier when you had nice punching, because you kind of just gave yourself a weakness on f3 for no great reason. I'm not sure. Maybe if we back up, was there some pieces trying to use f4, or was there a great reason to play g3, or was it just maybe trying to make a bathtub and
Lots of weak moves were played, I think. Right now, what white needs to do is probably try to get trick takes and get knight d5 so that he could set, let's say, knight c7 or knight to c3, attacking the pawn. In this also, I found maybe he could play knight d4, but there's f4 here. f5, 4. Sometimes what happens is these pawn breaks are really dangerous. And suddenly the h pawn starts rolling. And the king is very far to stop it. So now white has two options, just take, and take, or try to take, and play knight d5. And he will also play king d6. And the concept still remains the same. Something like knight d4 comes, and then this would be hanging all the time. Or if he could work out something like this, and some kind of a g5.
yeah, so
The
black?
point is there's f4, but maybe it's too late. The king is still in the square, so maybe it's not working yet. But at some points, this could come. Knight c5, there's a king e3. Okay, so still not enough.
Looks like black's kind of pressing here.
Yeah. Wait, what? He did not find bishop d5? Come on.
So what did he play? He's played king h.
He played king g4.
Okay.
Going for the pawn. Bishop e2, king f4. Maybe still, okay, he's still winning because white was down to a minute and he did not find the best defense. Now, the king is very, very, for example, this is just a mate, I could see. Bishop g2 and this is unstoppable. So it is still winning. And f3 lands into just a check. With a rook and king coming in. So he's still winning this, but...
Yeah, that was a bit of puzzle rush, but yeah. So Nathan having an interesting night because he looks like he's on his way to winning on both boards, and looks like he beat up Connor, who is an extremely strong player, but in this game kind of first blundered a tactic to Mitchell earlier, and then kind of came back and then kind of missed this easy closeout, but he's going to win anyways. So yeah, a mixed night for Nathan, but the results are all coming in anyways.
Yeah. So Nathan wins this one, and now the only question remains is what will happen in this. What's your prediction about this game?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's going to be a draw, just because I don't really think either player is the type to uber press, and you know,
Right.
I think it's basically like, yeah, even if either side kind of gets a chance, if it takes some really critical endgame tactics, I don't think either side has really done their super critical endgame tactics. So not to say, I say my prediction is
E3.
my prediction's a draw, and then I guess my secondary prediction would be win for black based on get a nice knight on d4 targeting f3 seems a little more realistic than white getting at black's pawns, but never know. Looks like b5 is getting a little loose here.
So it could be a draw like this as to sample variations. King d6, white attacks the pawn, he defends it. Knight d5, white attacks the pawn, he defends it. So this could be one of the possible repetition. Meanwhile, Nathan has won with the same idea which you were discussing, bishop g2, rook f3, and it's a checkmate. So well done, Nathan. Good comeback, I would say.
Yeah, he wanted the checkmate. He didn't even want that.
The bishop, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want that full extra piece. That's he was just, when you see a good move, look for better, and he was like, oh, this is mate in a few moves.
Yeah. So he went for the mating line instead of getting a piece.
Yeah.
Like a strong player.
Yeah. That discussion earlier, should you take a queen or or give mate in 3? Nathan's like, I'll go mate in 3 before. Yeah, that's just a bishop, much less a queen. Come on, go for the mate in 3.
Yeah. All right.
So is this the last game that's outstanding?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. I'd say we can start the recap then. Maybe we'll get done a little early tonight. So let's just jump to board 1 and let's just kind of go board by board and go begin.
Yep.
In case somebody basically wants to tune in and just kind of find the recap portion, then they can find this and they can see a quick recap of all the games. So let's just go beginning to end on every game very quick.
Yeah, got it. So on the board 1, it was in the Premier Division, it was a good opening from white side, but then at some point white just decided to go a little bit more ambitious instead of focusing on completing the development first. It got backfired. White just went on ultra attacking mode, sacrificing one after another. Like this is sacrificed, and this is sacrificed. So it was a giveaway, I would call, instead of sacrifices. But a very good defense by Zweber, where he defended very nicely, neutralized all the attacking pieces whenever they came in, and was accurate to convert this. And he just won this with extra material. On the board 2, it was an interesting battle. Black was probably winning after this point, where he got a chance to just move the knight and capture the move the knight, attack the queen, and next move you can just capture on d5. And there's no knight f6 because there's a rook f6 coming in, and he was just winning at this point. If he could have
I,
done this, he
I,
would have just remained piece up.
Eddie messaged me saying he was worried about queen d2 hitting rook h6. Do you see anything with that?
Queen d2 is possible. Can he just play bishop f3 or something like this? But bishop f3, I believe there's rook f3, knight f3, and there's a queen h6. Not really working, yeah. d6, queen e2. I don't believe this is not working. Okay, what else? There are so many moves here. We can move the knight to any, literally any square. Knight h4, knight g5. Knight g5, still queen d2. Interesting. So it takes.
So
This is not so.
that was his core reason, at
This,
least, for not playing knight d4.
yeah, true. But I believe this was just winning. Like, for instance, like you don't need to do all this. Like there's a threat of this. You can just maybe make a long castle or something. Anything, just the king is safe. Just bring pieces and it's a checkmate. Like he can never take here. You can take on h4 every single move. So that way, it's just winning, and maybe just even this move. But I was still wondering how could I work that out because he always have rook f3 there. Okay. So maybe okay. It might look a little bit stupid, but this is possible, I believe.
That's a funny. Double check on the queen to put two pieces on pre.
Still, there's a rook
That's a
g1.
funny variation.
Maybe like this is the best way. Knight g5, you play like this, but then you lose like this. h4 is not coming on time. So yeah, there were some tricks. It was not crystal clear because after bishop h3 also he can play something like rook g1 or even knight f6. We never know because still after there's a queen here to defend h3 square. So not so clear variations. Probably that's why he got in trouble. And no doubt John played very fast, keeping things complicated. And after this, I think it was very good for white because it's outpost. Black could not do much. Maybe black could have tried to put king on g7 and make double or do something with the king on the king side. But in this, it's very crystal clear that attack is going to come a4, b4, queen c4, rook c3. And that's what happened in the end. And okay, first he played rook f5, but in the end, he went back to all the way back to f3 and brought his rook to c3. And yeah, there were some tricks here, and all the tactics were always winning for white. He got a queen here as he went king c8.
Got a nice little finish there.
Yeah, and yeah, the rest is, I think, just winning. Between Cooner and Nathan, I believe the opening was not so good for Nathan, but I mean, sorry, for Connor, he played knight f6. It's better to play e6, g6, or at least c5. d5 is not a good option in this position, in my opinion, because you lose the center control on the next move itself.
Yeah,
And then,
and that's an
yeah, he
example.
just got
Connor
stuck.
definitely knows that. That's him just playing provocative more than not understanding that.
Yeah, and maybe could have exchanged coins in a right way, could have helped him survive, but he just lost material one by one, and probably he was not really in the game. He did improve his bishop, but it was a bit late to, like, he lost like 3 pawns, so maybe four, and yeah, it just was easy for white to convert.
It's kind
Talking about,
of one sided there with no chances really.
yeah, this was probably one of the greatest swindle of this round. White player was just losing. I mean, Robert was just losing, and he was just lost. We left it around here, and we discussed this like this is just lost. Even though once the pitches comes in, it's just game over. And he did not go bishop takes bishop e6, which was simpler. He went bishop a2, which allowed the bishop to be attacked, trapped. And now the e6 came in. That's why I wanted to play bishop e6, so that there's no counterplay at all. And probably in time pressure, black player made some mistake. He did get all this. He was completely rook up, but then threats keeps coming. He did not defend the rook. Maybe there was no good way, because queen f8, I could already see knight coming to. And one funny variation is queen f8, knight g6, rook f8, and now you have e7. So it was not that easy to play in time pressure, I believe. So he captured the knight, thinking that this will be winning, which this was almost winning, but maybe this check is already a draw.
He's down a piece, but
I was wondering, like,
he's got a
what
powerful
for a
pawn
win
there. You know, I'm not shocked by the swindle, honestly, because that pawn is pretty crazy, even though it's totally objectively lost. The pawn's almost worth a piece when it can kind of queen and fork and.
Right. He went queen hy, and queen g6 was just a draw, but he went for queen hy, which is also a bit surprising. Like, if I didn't get, like, if he just plays queen f6, how he's gonna survive this? Like,
Yeah.
queen e8, king g7, e7.
That's a perfect example of Robert's decision making too. You know, he's down a full piece and he's got perpetual, but he just continues to play for a win. So
yeah, so very brave play and very risky indeed. But then the h5 came in at the right moment, and now he's just winning. Like, this is just one. We can also check with the.
Oh, yep.
And
yeah, it's a good.
And it is to the maximum, I believe.
It's a good thing we weren't using. It's a good thing we weren't using the engine tonight, because you did kind of break up as soon as you turned it on there.
Yeah. I mean, Robert knew his opponent very well, and it worked out. So if you know your opponent, okay, you can do all this, but there's a lot of risk. I mean, but okay, maybe he was counting on his time, so.
Yeah, and I'd say Robert's not. It doesn't even matter who the opponent is. He's just going to play like this no matter what. And if he ends up losing, he just doesn't care. So.
Yeah, if he doesn't care, then it's okay.
He's more.
Enjoy chess, guys. That's more important.
Yeah, exactly. He's playing for interesting games no matter what, even if it's not the best expected value for his rating. So that's definitely what we've seen from Robert. And the more you commentate, the more you'll see from Robert. You should see, this is nothing compared to some of the risks he's taken in other games.
And we did witness the similar repetition, which you were talking about. But then white player decided to take on f5, and then agree for a draw or something. I don't know, or maybe they just made some moves after the game was agreed to a draw. But this is a draw, anyways.
I feel like it makes sense when you're talking to open players and just even players like myself that maybe haven't studied a huge amount of endgames. They get to a pretty equal ending, and you're not really wanting to try to press for a win and end up losing when you don't really feel like you know what you're doing, versus after you've practiced a lot of endgames, you've done a lot of endgame study, and maybe done some practical endgame sparring with your friends and stuff, then you get to those positions and you're playing for a win because.
So black was slightly better if he could have. Yeah. So he was better if he could have gone f5 at this point. Maybe this was the best try he could have done in the end game. And for white, after h5, maybe he would have just gone king c3, king b4, or just c4, liquidating something and then attacking. So, but okay, the problem with the c4 is the bishop e6, but still it's like king c3, king b4, some ideas. But probably black is absolutely fine. So maybe he just needs to go king c3, king b4, and now there's f7 weakness, so he has to play this, and now king b4 is the key move. So you give up the bishop, you get the knight, and then you have got some weaknesses to attack. And if you do like this, the king just keeps on entering. And okay, this could be an interesting position to fight for both the players.
Yeah, endgame tactics.
But they decided to play a safe, and it was a draw. All right.
Yeah, versus if I think if you got Connor in that position, he's going to probably play for a win from both sides.
Yeah.
So
on this board, okay, I'm really impressed with the Basil's calculation skills. He really found the best moves, defended well, attacked well. So, good game, Basil. And Michael Muff, hard luck, buddy. You tried well.
Yeah,
It was an interesting game indeed.
and Michael definitely having a nice positional game this week too, fighting back. Last week he tried a fried liver and kind of didn't get his pieces properly developed. So this game, at least, he got a full game in that. Uh, we got to see a full arc of getting both sides getting their pieces developed and getting some plans going. Even though it kind of went in Michael's favor.
Talking about Nathan's second game, this was a great turnaround. Michel did have chance to win this, but it was not so clear throughout. And when he got lower on time, he did make some mistakes. And okay, even here he could have survived with something like King G2, but then he blundered with Rook A6, and this allows this problem of getting poked in future, which was also missed by Nathan, but not really sure if either he missed it or he went for a checkmate. But I'm pretty sure, like if someone plays like F3 or something, then it's not gonna be checkmate, or someone plays Rook D6 or something. It's black who is gonna struggle here to make draw because the pawn is moving already forward. But
Yeah,
okay,
I'm sure
he
he would
won
have
it.
played
Right.
it if he saw it. I think he was probably seeing Rook takes E6 as a counter threat and dismissing it there, not seeing the intermezzo
Yeah.
check to make that tactic work.
So he did win with the swindle. Hard luck for Michel there. And talking about this game, yeah, this was a very good attack by Ralph towards the end. Once he got this H5, H4, I think it was really, really great. Like the way he attacked, it was beautiful. Also, he finished the game off in style with the rook sacrifice or a queen sacrifice, you call it. So that was a nice game. I mean,
Nice.
this was a really good attack, like in symmetrical English, like a model game, I would say rather.
Yeah, knight
White
takes
just
C2.
made a one mistake.
I want to follow Rev's lead and find tactics like that in my own game. So it
Yeah, he
is
just made a
crazy how
one
quickly
mistake.
this turned around. It makes sense actually with that knight on E4 looks pretty, but it kind of got hit with F5 tempo. F4 came quick, and tactics started emerging.
Yeah, so maybe Jeremy can play with a better plan next time and not capture on d5 so quick because that allows black to get pieces active. Maybe bishop d2, queen c1, and then bishop f6 is a more solid idea. Like you go slowly, try to improve pieces. Or maybe something like takes and bishop f4 was also a good tactical point because after e5 you do have knight e5. So he needs to go back and still do knight e5 and you damage the structure. Like queen e6 and it takes c6 and queen f4, and now it's very, very good position for white with bad pawn structure for black.
Perfect.
So something like this it could improve next time.
Well, I believe that's the last board, right? So I think that concludes our recap, and all the games are done. And so I
Yeah.
think we're done for this week. We will be back next week. There are 5 Thursdays this month, so we actually get a 5 round tournament compared to four
So
four rounds usually. And yeah, we will be back next week to be covering the final round, see who actually wins this month. Thanks for
yeah,
all our
that would be
viewers,
interesting. Yeah.
and thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you so much for your commentary, Nubair. We really appreciate it, and hope we can all learn from your insights. So, all right, we're gonna sign off. Thanks, guys.